Venus is our love language. It's how we want to receive love and give love. It's who we attract, what we want to spend our money on, how we save our money, what kind of money flows in and out of our life, and how we want to show the people that we love them. In today's video, I'm going to be covering Venus in all 12 signs of the zodiac. So let's get into it. Welcome to my channel. If you are new here, thank you for coming to this community. It'd be really good if you stuck around and help us to grow this community. And if you are, I'd like to call you my repeat offenders, then you know you're in good company. And thank you so much for all your comments and all our dialogues in the comment section. It's so much fun learning about your experiences and learning from you. It is vital to my job and all astrologers' jobs that we understand how the astrology plays out differently for individuals, because of course our birth charts are what we've been given, say, by the fates, and it's up to us as individuals with our free will and our own personal belief systems to utilize that energy to good effect. And that's what we're going to be covering in this video today. We're going to be talking about Venus in the individual star signs to give us an energetic understanding of how that Venusian energy plays out for you. I've also have a video on Venus in the 12 houses, and again that gives us a really interesting layer as to how Venus works within those houses and what themes are going to come up for you. So have a watch of that video as well. Let's get into it. So Venus takes about 23 days to transit each sign unless it's a retrograde, and then we have 2 months in that sign. Retrogrades are nothing to fear. Retrogrades happen all the time, and by the way, planets don't actually move backwards. It's because they move on an elliptic progression, it appears that it is stationary or moving backwards in our sky. It doesn't actually move backwards. They always have forward motion, but from our perspective, okay? So it warps the energy slightly, just like if you're looking at something through an angle or through a mirror, it will warp the energy. So that's where we get retrogrades from. So it, you know, when we have Venus in a retrograde for a couple of months, that can be a really interesting energy because we can really get into that sign of the zodiac, you know, and then really get to know Venus in that sign. Venus is at home, its domicile in Libra and Taurus, so it has lots of resources and tools in those signs, and we will cover that in all 12 signs as we get into the video. It's at its detriment, which means it has less tools and resources, in Aries and Scorpio, and it's at its fall in Virgo. Now, when it's at its detriment and fall, which lots of people's planets can be at points in detriment or fall in their birth chart or when they're transiting, it doesn't mean that you are unlucky in love. It doesn't mean that you are going to be unlucky in money or not have a great sense of personal style or be able to utilize Venus to the full effect. What it does mean is that you have to acknowledge that you might have some more challenges in that area that you need to overcome, and therefore you need to boost your Venusian system, okay? You just need to work a little bit harder and acknowledge that for yourself. And we all have things within our birth chart which we have to acknowledge and work a bit harder for, but I can tell you why Aries and Scorpio and Virgo might have these challenges, but also why they can be blessings, because of course challenges can also be huge blessings within our life and they make us who we are. So do not fear the fact that you might have a Venus in detriment or in fall. It's fine. and we have it exalted in the sign of Pisces, and I will talk about why Venus in Pisces is exalted in that sign, and why it is super happy there at the end of the video when I cover Pisces energy. As I've mentioned, Venus governs our material world. It's how we do our hair, it's what we spend money on in terms of our physical appearance, how we nurture, how we operate in self-care, how we look after other people and ourselves, and that is part of our love language. Part of our love language is not just about our romantic partners, but it's about how we nurture ourselves as well, and how we heal and how we look after ourselves. So that's a really important part of understanding where Venus is in your birth chart, what zodiac sign it's in, and also when it's transiting, because there may be more focus on one particular area. If, say, Venus is transiting through Aries, there's a general energy for all of us, which is partly where we get our predictive astrology from. The other thing that's really interesting about Venus is it does lend itself to aspects of spending money as well. So that is something which we will cover in all 12 signs of the zodiac. If money flows very easily to you, or if you're very, you know, lax and free-flowing with how you spend your money, or whether you're much more discerning. Now, that comes more into play, I find, with the houses. So again, if you are wanting to watch this video particularly regarding how you acquire wealth, how you spend wealth, how you spend physical money, and the kind of purchases that you're making, look for the houses more so than the zodiac signs. The zodiac signs are much more about your vibe and your romantic love language and your personal love language. Okay, let's get into it. Venus in Aries is all about the self. It's about wanting to feel good. It's about wanting to express yourself directly, and there's also quite an innocent quality to Venus in Aries, because Venus is the youth of the zodiac. So if you imagine that feeling of your first love, Venus in Aries people tend to have that energy with every romantic partner. It's almost like the first time they fall in love, every time they fall in love. They like things to be fresh and new. They like fresh ideas. They like fresh challenges. They like to switch things up. They like to try new things. They do not want stability in terms of if it becomes stagnant. They want to be ever evolving and changing, but still feel like they are able to do that in a secure way with their partner. So security is important for Aries Venusians, because without security, they are vulnerable in love, and they do feel very vulnerable in love, and they do tend to maybe project that at times onto their partner. So this is where the detriment aspect comes into play, where because they are very youthful about how they fall in love and very innocent about how they fall in love, and it feels like the first time every time, there could be a lot of vulnerability attached to that. So if you are a Aries and Venus, or you are in love with an Aries and Venus, be gentle with them. And it's not always something which comes into play with Aries, because it's a cardinal fire sign, so it's great in a crisis, and it's immediate, and it's driven, and it's fiery, but they need to be contained, because if that fire energy is not contained and directed in the sense of the cardinal energy, good in a crisis, it's directed fire, the whole house will go ablaze. So they need to be treated gently, and they are sensitive souls, and they need to be nurtured. On a physical material level, they are quite sporty or physically active, physically able. They like their partners to be physically attractive, physically sexually alluring. They don't have to be particularly good looking, but they need to be beautiful because they are healthy, they are fit. Not for everyone, okay? I know some of you watching this might be like, that's not me, but there is an aspect where you want things to be fresh. You know, it might be that you are attracted to people whose clothes are fresh, you know, like they're just straight off the rack, you know, the labels, the clothes are you know, they're clean, people are clean cut. Aries are much more likely to like people and be attracted to people, and also have a personal style which is more straight, which is more clean, which is more crisp, clean cut kind of person, even if they're super alternative. They may spend money a little bit too freely, and without due diligence and without due thought. So Venus in Aries people could blow cash like there is no tomorrow. They live for today and they want to feel good now. It's really important for Venus in Aries people that they feel good now in the moment, and that's also why they need freshness in relationships, because they're not particularly interested in how it's going to feel in 5 years time. If you're going through a rough patch and you're Venus in Aries, you want to make it better right now or you're out. So that can be something that you can work on if you are in long-term relationships or want to commit to long-term relationships, that you know you kind of have that energy and you might need to take yourself away from the relationship temporarily to go and find or seek something else which makes you feel good, which is also a Venusian energy, like self-care. So, you know, if you are having trouble in your relationship, self-care is perfect for that. And that's, again, a Venusian love language. It's a love language for yourself. When Venus is transiting Aries, we're going to be more in our physical bodies. We're going to be looking after ourselves more. We're going to be wanting more physical expression. Moving on to Taurus. So Venus is so lovely in Taurus. It is so... It's about domesticity, it's about home life. People with Venus in Taurus, by the way, they tend to have very beautiful voices. They're very calm with their lovers, they're very grounded. When they meet someone who they believe is going to offer them the Venusian qualities they're looking for, it almost like the relationship sort of happens without trying. It just unfolds very easily because they are very grounded. They're also very passionate, and they tend to be really good with their money. They like people who are secure. They like people who are grounded. And remember, it's a fixed earth sign, Taurus. So Venusian Taurians do not like change in their relationship. They like to know what their partner is like, and they expect them to be like that all the time. So if you fall in love with a Venusian Taurian and you make them a cup of tea every time they get home, then they will kind of expect you to do that always, because that's their routine. And it's not that they're leaning on you, it's just that Taurian Venusians need stability and they need to know they're loved. They can also be quite needy, but it's in the sense of just routines, little messages, little acts of service. So for example, making someone a cup of tea or coffee, that would be a real love language. And buying gifts, and they are great gift givers. They really know you, and they really give fantastic, meaningful, and usually very beautiful gifts. Things like jewellery or food. Now, let's get into food. Taurians mainly communicate through eating and their food, and their love language through the physical world, the five senses, and feeding people, cooking, or going out for dinner, having meals, having parties, dinner parties with loved ones. They absolutely love to do this, and this is how they express their love language. Eating with a partner for them is crucial for them to feel like they are nurturing you and that they are being nurtured. They need to feel like they can love you. A Venus in Taurus would really struggle with, say, a Venus in Sagittarius, because Venus in Sagittarius just wants to ever expand and like ever have freedom, whereas a Venus in Taurus really wants to feel that they can 100% invest in you and 100% love you. Now, they really appreciate things like beauty, so forms of self-care for Venus in Taurus would be having their hair done. That'll be a massive theme. They will have very interesting hair, unusual hair, or curly hair, or just expressive, beautiful hair, or they will have their hair done to look like that, and they may experiment with their image, but there is a continuity there, and again, they like beautiful things, so they're gonna spend money on makeup, on hair products, on jewelry, on style, and again on food. So food is a big one, and maybe perfume as well. Anything that involves texture, the senses. They like to be comfortable, they like to be at home. They really look for partners who are homemakers, who want to stay at home, who like being private, who like being around the home, who like entertaining at home. Now, if you are a Venus in Taurus person and you are a social butterfly, you would still search for those qualities in a partner, and there is a homely quality about you. So even going out to dinner, that is a very social, traditional, family and friendship way of expressing love and expressing familiarity with other people. You know, there is nothing more ancient than breaking bread with a loved one, and it's that sort of energy that we are looking for here. They do tend to spend on big things, so big gestures, expensive things, but they are also quite grounded with their money, and they would expect their partner to be grounded with their money as well. It would be a very, very difficult discussion if they found out that their partner was like secretly spending or in debt or anything like that, and they do not like that. They do not like to be in debt, and they like to be very, very practical about how they express their love as well. So similar to Capricorn, Venus in Capricorn energy, they will do little acts of service for you, and it will be very practical. But it tends to be with the earth signs, the Venus in Taurus energy is a bit more like cooking your dinner, whereas the Venus in Capricorn energy would be more like building a bookshelf for you. So you can see the difference there, both practical, but the Venus in Taurus is a little bit more bougie, which I kind of like. And when Venus is transiting Taurus, we're going to be wanting to indulge more. So we're much more likely to throw a dinner party. We're much more likely to get our hair done, or our eyelashes, or our nails, or go to a spa. So we're much more likely to do that during a Venus in Taurus transit. And we could also, does depend on the aspects, but we're more likely to make big purchases or grander purchases. Okay, moving on to Venus in Gemini. Venus in Gemini, as I've said, they like intellect. They like intellectual stimulation and fun. I have a Venus Gemini friend, and you can almost hear her thoughts because she is so in her mind and airy, and expressive in that way, and they really like to flirt. They are big flirts. If you have any big Gemini placement, so the sun, moon, ascendant, and particularly Venus in Gemini, you are a massive flirt. And this can come out in really small nuanced ways, like really flirtatious body language. It's not like sexy necessarily, it's more like you're sexy because of like your wit. So communication is key with Gemini Venusians. They really need transparency. They need to know what you're thinking. They want to express what they're thinking. They want to have debates. They really don't want to be with a partner who agrees with everything they say. They need to be challenged, and it might even be a case of playing devil's advocate. So it's not that they disagree with you, but they just want to have a conversation about what would happen if I didn't agree with you, or what would happen if this scenario existed or that scenario existed. They want to expand and grow and learn and understand. Another really interesting aspect about Venusians in Gemini is you are probably quite poetic. You might be really good at writing love letters or writing poetry or flirting through text messaging. I mean, this is like the digital age is all about you Venusian Geminis, because you can really exercise your wit and your communication style, and again, when you meet people in person, as I've said, you can be very flirtatious with your body language, and that's really good fun. It's really stimulating, and you like to play games. You like to, not emotional games, okay, so some of you might be more emotionally manipulative, but it would be more in the sense of you want to create stimuli, you want to create conversation, and you might be more free with your relationship styles. So you're more likely to be in a non-monogamous relationship, or maybe date lots of people and not get attached, or rather than say like a Venus in Taurus energy who maybe likes to focus on one person at a time and would be much more likely to be monogamous and very fixed with their idea about what they want in a relationship. You're more free and you're willing to have your perception and your mind changed. And coming back to the ideas of games, what I actually meant originally by that is you like to play things like board games, like you like to play and engage in intellectual things, and you like to be stimulated. A perfect date for Venus and Gemini people will be like going to a TED talk, or like a documentary cinema, something like that, where you can really discuss what you've learned and engage in critical thought. They really require critical thought. If they are more on the airy ditzy side of Gemini, then they need fun. So it's either the more serious critical thought or communication through play and through fun and through activity, and that's what will engage them. They are much more likely to spend their money on experience as well. Image is not so important to Geminis. Geminis like to reflect how they feel on an intellectual level. So if they are a very serious Gemini, if they are very bookish, then they are probably going to be quite serious with their style. If they're more like on the playful side, then they're going to be more wearing sort of fun, more colourful clothes. But it's like one or the other. It's all about the mind. It's about how they intellectually perceive themselves and how they want to be perceived. And they, in my experience, don't tend to be so involved in their appearance as some of the other signs. Say like Taurians are going to wear a lot of knitwear, a lot of wool and silk and heavier fabrics and things that they feel secure in, things that they feel nurtured in. Gemini, they don't really give those things as much thought because they're more about the intellect. They're more about this bit, this crown chakra bit. And they're going to spend their money on experience, so they're much more likely to spend money on things like holidays, on courses, on educational stuff, on learning, on things like books as well. You know, a Taurian might buy books because they are beautiful and because they want to own the book and they're a book collector, whereas a Gemini will buy a book because they want to read the book, or they might go to the library, you know, that kind of energy. When we have Venus transiting Gemini, we're much more likely to be wanting that kind of level of communication with our loved ones and our partners. And in terms of our self-care, it's a really good time to journal. It's a good time to publish. If you are a writer, or you know, you produce any sort of journalism or work or poetry, or you want to journal, it's a great time for that during a Venusian Gemini transit. So Venus in Cancer is very, very supportive. Venus in Cancer is you're not going to be a direct person. You're not going to like be the first person to show that you fancy someone or that you are attracted to someone. You're much more likely to be more restrained about how you express your attraction compared to when you are actually in love. When you are really secure and in love, you are very, very nurturing. You are you need a lot of love. You require, similar to Taurians, like you really require a lot of love. You are very delicate, you are very tender, but you are very rich in how you love, and it is usually very, very family orientated. So you would go for a romantic partner who has maybe like a big family, or you want to create a big family, or your friends and your social network is your big extended family and you really nurture them. So again, things like hosting, cooking, togetherness, showing love and affection in a very nurturing, safe way, and you really require a safe place to be able to let go and be loved. You need to feel emotionally nurtured and emotionally fulfilled. So it's about the whole picture. So you want your home to feel secure. You want to feel nurtured. You want to, when you're in somebody's arms, it has to feel like they have fully got you, like you are fully supported by them, and that's really important. Because you are emotionally sensitive, you really require quite a lot of space in your relationships. So a perfect way for you to feel supported and nurtured would be to have your own office within your home, so that, or your, like, you know, your little own snug, so that you can sit and read your book, or you can sit and do your art or invest in yourself while you are in this beautiful family home with all the people who you love, all the abundance that you've created for yourself with your lover, with your partner. So it's like you do need a lot of space, and when you are enacting self-care, you particularly need solitude and space. You particularly need to feel like you have a time to emotionally process what you're perceiving. It's a beautiful energy to have Venus in Cancer, an energy of like deep family loyalty and love, in a similar way to Scorpios, but without that intensity. It's more like an inward personal intensity. Like you are not going to be obsessive over your partner, but you are completely there. You are completely 100% there and invested with them once you are in love. would tend to move into a partnership a little bit more quickly than some of the other signs as well, and you would commit more quickly because you need that security. You need to feel secure, so you're much more likely to have, if you have more than one relationship in your lifetime, as many of us do in this age, you are much more likely to have a series of very serious monogamous relationships, or to have one partner who is your absolute base and your absolute solid family member, and then look outside for other things if you are in that kind of open situation. How Venus through Cancer operates in a transit is we would be much more sensitive, so we will be more prone to feeling hurt by other people or wanting to express our love in indirect ways, so through gestures of kindness, through acts of self-care. We might want a little bit more solitude, or we might want to be have more romantic time with our partner, but it would still be in some ways secluded and more emotional connectivity. So it very much differs from the Gemini energy, which is all about the cerebral, intellectual mind. The Cancerian Venusians are much more about the emotional state of being. When if you have a stressed time with your romantic partners, or indeed with money, if you're having a stressed time with money and you are a Venusian Cancerian, having some self-healing time and some self-nurturing time in solitude to reflect is very beneficial for you, because emotions can overwhelm and we need quiet, we need gentleness. If you think about the energy of a crab, they're quite gentle creatures really, and that's why they have this solid outer shell, because they, you know, inside they're very gentle and vulnerable, and so you need that time and space to think. When we do have these transits, we are going to be focused on our emotional needs. Okay, moving on to Leo. Venusian Leos, they love to have a partner who matches them. They want a partner who matches their intensity, they want a partner who matches their energy, and they want a partner who matches their style. We've all seen online those couples, or in person, those couples who just, like, you see them out in public and you're like, wow, like, you're like the yin and yang to each other. You just complement each other so well and you will click and your style is so perfect. That is like the pinnacle of what a Venusian Leo wants. They want to show their partner off. They want to match. They want cutest couple awards. They want to put you on a pedestal and they want to be put on a pedestal. They love big gestures, so it wouldn't be so much like, say, buying you jewellery, and if they did buy you jewellery, they're going to give it to you in a restaurant and they want you to make a big fuss about how beautiful this jewellery is, and they'll come round and they'll get you to put the jewellery on, and they want everyone in the restaurant to clap and to see how generous they are and to see how in love you are. And it's not an intentional egotistical energy, it's not a narcissistic energy in any way. It's more just like they love creating that vibe. They want to whip it up, they want to whip things up so everything feels grand, so everything feels memorable and big and ostentatious. And even if you're a Venusian Leo who has other placements which are contrary to that, and you're a little bit quieter and a little bit more like don't want the limelight, when it comes to love and romance, you definitely want to be public about those romances. You definitely want to feel like your partner wants to show you off and that you are proud of your partner. And you are much more likely to go for someone who is who wants to go out with you. You know, if they introduce you to their friends quite quickly, and or they want to take you out, an ideal date would be going out to a really beautiful restaurant, or a promenading through the park, or going to a beautiful bar like a speakeasy. They don't want to take you to the cinema where no one's going to see you, because that's not the energy that they want to create. Leos, they're all about creating something memorable in the here and now that they can experience, that they can enjoy, just like all the other fire signs, but they want it to be effervescent and like a whipped up cloud, like a big bubble, you know. They want to keep that energy and they want to hold on to that energy. So big gestures for them. Venus in Leo people, and I see this with a lot of Cancerian Venusians as well, actually, or indeed Cancer and Leo placements. Those summer placements, they usually have amazing hair. Sometimes they've got freckles, or they've just had, or you know, beautiful full lips. There's something unusual about Cancerian Venusians and Leo Venusians, and they also look for that in a partner. They want their partner to be very vivacious and different looking and beautiful. They want classic, extravagant beauty. When we experience a Venus through Leo transit, we're likely to be big with our gestures, so it's a really good time. It obviously don't go and do it without looking at the rest of your birth chart holistically, but it might be a good time, say, to propose to a partner, or to go on a big family holiday, or to do a huge romantic gesture for your partner, or to have a big wedding anniversary or celebration. And of course, when I'm talking about the transits, we still do have to look at other places in the birth chart. For example, if you're a water sign Venus, you might be you know, your transit in Leo Venus, you know, might not be as favorable for you, but that's the energy is still there to operate these kind of things. Moving on from Leo, we are in Virgo. It's in its fall in Virgo. Now, that does not mean, again, as I've said, that Virgos are unlucky in love. What it means is that they have less resources and tools for Venus to feel really comfortable in that sign, and I'll tell you why. Virgos like to compartmentalize things, and they are perfectionists. That is one side of Virgo, and the other side of Virgo is that they like to be in service to people. So what does that mean? Well, if you are very black and white and compartmentalizing energy, and you are a perfectionist who has to be in service to others, that is a very difficult energy for other people to for you to allow other people to love you, because you might not feel worthy of receiving that love. And likewise, you're much more likely to be over analytical about what you seek in a partner. When you're first choosing a partner and you're out in the world dating, there might not ever be anyone who lives up to your expectations. It might be very hard to find someone who ticks all the boxes. And for someone like a Taurian Venus or a Leo Venus, it doesn't matter if they tick 50% of the boxes, and those boxes that they do tick are more important to them. Who cares about the other stuff? But for Virgos, Venusian Virgos, the small details matter. It might just be one thing that this person does that irritates you, and you're like, I cannot date them anymore. That is it. No, they're out. They're not the one for me. And that's why Venus in Virgo can struggle a little bit, because you can be too hard on yourself, or you can be too hard on other people. Now, the way to work around that is to be in service to the people who you love. So you would want a partner who is able to offer acts of kindness. So brilliant Venus in Capricorn for you would be a brilliant match, because they want to do practical things. They want to help you out practically. They're going to, I don't know, service your car for you, or they're going to go and do the shopping, or they're going to help you clean the house, and they're going to do those little practical things, or things that you're not able to do. And then you can show them that kind as well. And that's what you really look for. They also like, so I've mentioned the some, you know, the zodiac signs do have an association with the houses, and we can say that Virgo has more of an association with the 6th house. So it's the day-to-day stuff that matters to the Venusian Virgo. They want to feel loved on a daily basis. They want to feel valued, and so it's through mundane things. It's through things that aren't Leo. It's the opposite of Leo. It's not like big extravagant gestures. Virgos do not want that. They find that distasteful, and it's irritating to them. What they want is for the worktop to be clean after you've made some toast, because that shows them that you understand what their triggers are and what they value. And they want ease in their daily experience and daily life. And so helping them through your actions and showing them that you love them through your actions and your behaviours is so important to them. How they spend their money is going to be very compartmentalized and very discerning. So they tend to buy things, they're very spiritual, Virgos generally. So Virgo Venusians are also very spiritual, so they're much more likely to give gifts of, say, like crystals, or jewelry with crystals, or instruments, musical instruments, or journals. They'll buy you a journal to help you improve your or value yourself more, or give some sort of improvement to your own life. They will buy you practical gifts, but ones that tend to lend to which are also emotionally supportive. And they're very thoughtful. They're generally very thoughtful. If you are a Venus in Virgo person and you are super critical with your partner, or you are super critical with yourself, move more towards understanding your triggers and understanding their triggers, and be in service to them, and be in service to yourself. When it comes to self-care, things like journaling, things like those kind of purchases which I've mentioned, which are more emotional have more emotional spiritual attachment, are really great for you. When we have a Venus transiting Virgo, we are going to be more critical of our partners. And again, to get away from that, we probably need to do bureaucracy and maintenance. So it's a great time to do things like paperwork to do with your partners, or get your finances sorted, know how you're operating, set up a cleaning rota, or whatever it is if you live in a shared house, or, you know, if you have like older children, that kind of thing. So it's about order. It's about order and structure to show acts of love. It's a bit more of a cool kind of energy. A lot of the Virgo Venusians I know, they tend to wear a lot of black, and they tend to be more like slightly on the more of the worrying side. They tend to worry about their partners more, or they tend to be more analytical about love. They will talk more about the chemistry of why they are in love than they will about the feelings that they have about being in love. So they want to talk about serotonin. They don't want to talk about how it feels to be in love, you know? There's that distinction. But if you are in service to other people, you're going to have a good time with this energy, as long as you're also in service to yourself, because of course you don't want to lose yourself. Libras in Venus in Libra. Venus in Libra is at home, so yeah, very, very balanced. If you have Venus in Libra, you want to show people what you like, and you want to express all the things that you love about your life and all the things you love about your work, the world, and your hobbies and your tastes and your friends, and you want them to share those things with you as well. So it's the scales. You want to be balanced about about giving and receiving. And it's a really nice energy. It's an energy where Libras tend to want to invite people into their life, and they have a lot of Libras. Now, I'm Libra ascendant, so I know this energy really well, and I know a lot of people with Libra placements. They have an open door policy with their heart and with their home, and they want that flow. It doesn't matter to a Libra whether you're here for a long time or a short time. They love you all the same, and they really do want to help you to merge with their life, because it's very bubbly. It's a very bubbly energy to have Venus in Libra, and they tend to be, they like small details in the way that Virgos do, and they like to be shown that you love them or that they love you, but it's more through a similar way to the Taurians, where they like gestures. So they like gifts, but they like gifts because they've like mentioned once or twice that there's a particular brand that they really like, and then you go out and buy that brand. Or they've walked past a jeweller's and they've seen a piece of jewellery that they really love, and then you've gone out and bought them that jewellery. I mean, that would just make a Venus in Libra just madly fall in love with you, because they're like, wow, you got it, you get me, you understand, and their style. So Taurus Venusians have more of a cozy, comforting style, because they need to feel at home in their body. They need to feel comfortable in their body. Venusian Libras love fashion generally, whether that's ethical fashion, recycled fashion, or high street fashion, or upscale, you know, high end fashion. Whatever it is, they love to look good. They love style. They generally are quite angular and balanced, so they will look more, they will have a more balanced appearance. They may be more of a, like, if you know Kibi's body types, they're more of a they could be more of a classic sort of body type, so nothing is too stand out about them, but they have an overall appearance of balanced beauty, and they would be quite balanced in their style. Now that's very different to a Libra ascendant, who can be full ratchet. Like, I have about 1,000 hats. I mean, not literally, probably about 30, but that's like 29 hats too many, right? So yeah, they're quite, Venusian Librans are balanced. They're balanced with the way they express love. They're balanced with the way they receive love. But they do have very, very, very big hearts. So when they don't feel like you are matching their energy, they will be very, very disappointed. If they feel betrayed by you, they will pull that arrow out of their heart and they will throw it in your face, and that will be it. They will be out. Once they're out, they're out. And they really do not like feeling like their balanced nature is met with resistance. So if they're trying to be diplomatic, or if you have an argument and then they try and make the first move to apologise and you continue the argument, they will be severely hurt by that energy. I mean, like, they could instantly fall out of love with you because of some act like that, where they feel like their diplomacy is being thrown back in their face. So that's something to watch out for if you are a Venusian Libran, or if you are in love with a Venusian Libran, or you have one in your family or a friend. They really don't like that. If they're trying to be diplomatic, they really mean it and it's genuine. Try and match that energy with theirs. When we have a Venus transiting Libra, it's usually a very diplomatic energy. It's great for things like dealing with business partnerships, dealing with contracts, legal stuff, investments, that kind of stuff, getting your finances in order, making like small purchases or higher purchases in a balanced way. So you're not rushing into anything, you've already done your research, or this is a time to do your research about the purchases you want to make. And also it's a great time for dating. Like it's a really wonderful time to like be out and about dating. So different to like the going on a romantic dinner with the Venusian Leo or Venusian Taurus, this would be more like socializing with friends, introducing your lover to your friends. Great time for that. Venusian Scorpio. Scorpio Venusians have quite an intense time. Let me know if this is your placement and how you have interpreted that. So I have known quite a few Venus in Scorpio people, and firstly they're either all in or all out. They can be the most beautifully loving, wonderful person, and you can feel like they're completely falling in love with you, but if they know exactly what they are looking for, and if you're not it, no matter how much you think they love you or how much they are conveying that fact, you will soon find out, because they will either commit to you or they will not. There is no, they know what they are looking for, and you know that if you have this placement, you know that you are either in or you're out, and there is no amount of persuading that can be done. You're either there or you're not. They're very intense. So falling in love for a Venus in Scorpio person can take a very long time, and they're very cautious about falling in love, because they know that once they have committed to someone, that is it. They are so loyal and so true to their own feelings and their own wants and desires, that if there is any resistance or if there is any confusion there, they will not commit. They might struggle to fall in love and struggle to express love, and find love very intense. For the people who are attracted to them, they are completely alluring and magnetic. Scorpio is deep, deep, deep mysteries, the darkest point in the ocean. So they really have this like mysterious dark vibe about them. They might have like a more mysterious appearance, so they could be more like sort of psychedelic, dark, metally with their appearance. Like they might wear darker clothes or have very rich taste or rich style, or they might be physically quite like dark and sensual looking, like have dark hair, that kind of thing. And they are very, very sexual. Now, Scorpio Venusians find all this energy a bit too much for them at times, and it can frighten them, particularly if they don't have a well aspected Venus, or if their Venus is extremely well aspected. Like for example, they have like a grand trine with Venus and 2 other planets. It can be too much. And so because it's just a lot to take on, because they're very deep and they're very sexual and they're very sensual and they're very loyal, they can be a little bit flippant and detached with people who they don't feel that way about. And if you overstep their boundaries, and by the way, they won't tell you what their boundaries are, but if you overstep their boundaries, they will cut you out. It's the #1 sign, Scorpio, for scratching people out of their life, and it's definitely something which Scorpios, that can be a favourable if that really needs to happen, but you know, you always need to be really discerning before you make that choice, because sometimes Venusian Scorpios can regret being as hard as they are. And I know that I've dealt with clients and in my personal life with Venusian Scorpios who make rather harsh decisions, and it can be difficult for them to come back from with that, and in fact they very rarely do come back from that, and they usually find that they have shot themselves in the foot if they have been too hard lined. Now, people can get very easily obsessed with Venusian Scorpios, and likewise they can be very obsessive as well. So it's important that they have someone who matches that energy. It is no good them dating someone who is a fire sign, because fire doesn't really want boundaries, whereas Scorpio wants to contain and possess. And so they need an energy which helps them to feel secure. So like a Venus in Cancer would be really well matched with a Venus in Scorpio, because they will trine each other, and they really want to, you know, Cancerian Venusians really want to be loved, and they really want to be able to show the other person that they love them, and that's what Scorpios love. Scorpios want to be completely 100% desired, and they want to know that you're the only one that they're looking at. They are incredibly jealous. Now, I'm not negging on Scorpios. All this can be wonderful, all this can be brilliant, all this intensity. And Scorpios, because they're so magnetic, they can be really alluring, and they can be really good fun, particularly if they're involved in the arts. So if they're involved in art and culture, or promotions or something like that, or, you know, even or if they're craftspeople, it's like that they're gonna make beautiful things, they're gonna want beautiful things, they want luxury, they want tasteful things, they look for tasteful partners, they look for partners with great taste, they look for partners who are intellectual. It's another sign which really values cleverness and intellectualism, which would match the style of the person above and beyond the physical appearance. Now, in saying that, it is one of the best placements for someone to be very physically attractive. So if you are a Venusian Scorpio, you're going to be good looking, like standard, and they all have a very similar look. They usually have sort of buttony noses, and they're very cute looking, but also very alluring and powerful. Like they might have very beautiful eyes, or they might have a very beautiful hair or beautiful style. There's something which is incredibly alluring about them, but they have that sort of Fibonacci symmetry about their face. They have that eloquence that all humans gravitate towards about their face. So they're usually very beautiful in their appearance, irrespective of their individual features or style. They will spend money seriously on serious things. So they will buy the best quality headphones, or they will buy a hardback cover of a book because it feels nicer to hold and it's better quality and it's going to last longer. They buy better quality clothes generally. So they want to invest. They are high spenders, but only because they want to invest. And they would also be inclined to save their money so that they can live that kind of lifestyle. So even if they're high earners, they don't spend excessively. They tend to be much more discerning about how they spend their money. When we have a Venus transiting Scorpio, expect intensity, expect a lot of sexual tension with your partner or need for deep sexual connectivity. You could, you know, obsess over somebody or fall in love with somebody. If we are in like a Mercury retrograde through Scorpio, anywhere near Venus, or anything like that, it's going to be, you know, intense. So when Venus is moving through Scorpio, it's also an intense energy. It's an intense energy. It's might be more of a tense time to spend money, so you might have to spend money or want to spend money, but you're gonna have to be sure on what you're spending money on. You're gonna have to be sure about the person who you're dating. You might also be a little bit more paranoid or a bit more I guess like nervous, anxious about the feelings that you have towards somebody at this time. If you're dating somebody during a Venus moving through Scorpio transit, you intensity is the thing. Sagittarius Venusians, so Venus in Sagittarius, Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter is ever expanding, huge heavenly body, and Sagittarius is that arrow that just wants to ever move through the universe, and that is the same energy for your love language and how you want to receive love. You do not want to be contained. You do not want to be committed. Even if you get married, and even if you fall in love, and even if you have a commitment, you still want to be expanding. You want to feel like your relationship is ever growing and changing and moving up. So it might be that you want to move with your partner, you have big goals, you have big you know, expansive things that you want to do. So for a committed Sagittarian Venusian, this would be like you meet your partner at uni, you know that you're going to get married at some point. After you've got married, you know you're going to have kids. After you've had kids, you know you're going to buy a big house, and then you're going to buy a bigger house, and then you're going to go on a world tour, and then you're going to buy a camper van, and then you're going to, you know, retire to Hawaii. It's like this like ever growing, expanding, like moving up the ladder. You want to feel like you're ever progressing and moving. So it might be more difficult for you to settle down. It might take you a little bit longer to commit to a partner because you want to experience more things, and you need to find that partner somewhere in the world who can grow with you and match that energy for you. So the other thing about Sagittarius Venusians is that you like culture. You might backpack or travel or partner with someone from another culture, but you need the stimulus of something other than what you know. It's very unlikely that you would meet someone from down the road who you grew up with as a child, marry them, and that's your lot. That is going to be dissatisfying to a Venusian Sagittarius. If that was to happen, it'd probably be some bizarre scenario where you knew them as a kid, and now you're in Southeast Asia backpacking and you bump into them again, and suddenly you have, you know, 2 decades of completely separate cultural experiences that you can come together on. So it's like you have to have the expansion, you have to have freedom in your relationship. You cannot let things stagnate. So it's very similar to the cardinal fire energy of Aries, the Venusian Aries people, who they need frequent change. But whereas a Venusian Aries needs frequent change in poppy day-to-day small things, they need to switch things up. Sagittarius Venusians need to feel growth. They need to feel ever expanding growth, and that is way too much energy for an earth sign Venus. Like, for real, that is not going to sit well with a Scorpio Venus, because they're not going to be able to possess you, because you are completely about freedom and free will. And it's not going to sit well with, say, like a Cancerian Venus, because they need to feel secure and comfortable, and you're like out there in your sports car living your best life on, you know, on highway 1. Like, you want to be out in the world, in the universe. The other really nice thing about Sagittarius Venusians is you, as I've mentioned, you're really invested in culture and belief, and you want to know and expand. You might have like a deep love for your like church or your belief system or your religious system, and you might want to be with someone who matches that, or someone completely different. So you might have a partner who believes none of this astrology stuff and he's completely disinterested in it, but it doesn't matter, because what they offer you is another perspective, and that's what you're interested in. You're interested in belief, you're interested in expansion, you're interested in being challenged. Now, you don't like being told what to do. So a Sagittarius Venusian is going to struggle with a Virgo in Venus, with a Venus in Virgo. Because Venus in Virgo is all about list making and order and structure and telling people what to do through the passive aggressive means of making a wall chart, right? And Sagittarius is like, don't confine me. I want spontaneity. A really good thing for a Sagittarius Venus would be like to go backpacking with your partner, to take unexpected trips with your partner. And like I said in one of the other comparisons, I think it was Leo, you know, they're gonna make big dramatic purchases, but it's not for anybody else. They may be practical purchases, but that's not the point of it. They're not making them because they're practical. They're making them because it's going to offer you as a unit a more lavish lifestyle, like buying a camper van. Camper vans, yeah, it's a vehicle, it's very practical, but you're doing it so you can create this like abundant, forever moving forward kind of energy. They like hidden esoteric love. It's something that doesn't get talked about a lot with Sagittarius Venusians, but the unrequited love or the hidden love, especially with friendships, they kind of like that energy. They like secretly being in love with people. Now, where that differs from the Scorpionic energy is the Scorpios will let the person know that they're obsessed with them. Or it will be just very obvious to everyone who they are surrounded by, to the irritation of all concerned. Whereas Sagittarius won't necessarily ever tell their crush that they like them. In fact, they're much more likely to ignore their crush completely and focus on other people, all the while their crush has no idea that this Sagittarius Venusian has been in love with them for 20 years, okay? So it's that kind of energy. And there has to be like, they have to feel like they still have their freedom if they ever declared that love. So that's why they would tend to be more secretive about it. Okay. So, one thing that I will say as well is when we are transiting a Venus Sagittarius, we are more likely to take holidays, we are more likely to take to have unusual experiences, to want to be spontaneous, to want to spend spontaneously, and it's much more about cultural things. So we're more likely to go to like a fair or a festival, or have cultural experience. if you think about the time of year that sun moves through Sagittarius, and that is a festive time when we're usually very social, when we're eating lots of lovely food, and we're moving around the country or moving around the globe to see people we love, doing spontaneous things, experiencing things, and it's very arty and very cultural and very about physical, materialized events that create a feeling of abundance and culture. And Venusian transits through Sagittarius also have that energy where it's like we want more culture, we want more experience, and that's usually with people and engaging with physically abundant experiences. So you're much more likely to crave that energy during a Venus transit. Now moving on to Venus in Capricorn. Venus in Capricorns tend to be much more practical. They are really practical with their love language. They're very practical about how they love, and they are very grounded. So when they like you, they will do really boring, mundane, practical things for you. They will go above and beyond to be similar to Virgos, where they will be in service to you, but they will be in practical service to you. Like they will fix your car, they will build you a coffee table, they will clean your drive or put out the trash for you. Or that's what Capricorns do when they really appreciate people and they love people and they want to express their appreciation for others. They're very, very practical, they're very grounded. Something that never gets talked about with Capricorns generally is how eccentric they are. So the way they love is very unusual. They show you they love you by the things that they do for you, but they are also very witty, very silly, very eccentric. They probably have a very eccentric sort of style, or they're very, very like they only wear black, or they only wear one colour, and they have been doing that for 30 years and that's their thing, or they only wear green and that's it and that's all. But there's something about even on the scale of like more conservative, where it's them, it's like very identifiably a Venusian Capricorn, it's very them. And they like to show you that they are responsible and they want their partners to be responsible. So they would enjoy the energy of a Venus in Aries if that Venus in Aries really looked after themselves on a day-to-day basis and was very routined with their in service to their self-care. Say like they owned a gym and they were very responsible, and they were very responsible with their money, and they were very responsible with their emotions and very responsible with the people that they loved. But generally they're going to struggle with that spontaneity, that like erratic sort of like it's on, it's off sort of energy. What Venus in Capricorns like is they like eccentricity in a box. So they want to feel like they can be the unusual ones, they can be the eccentric ones, they can give gestures or do things that help the person that the person can't do for themselves. So it would be no good for them to have a super independent person at the expense of them being able to be in service to them. So let me explain that a little bit. Capricorns tend to like independent people. They tend to like people who are resourceful and can function for themselves. But if you bring home a coffee table and you do everything yourself and you refuse the help of a Capricorn Venusian, they are going to feel offended and they are going to feel like they're not needed. And when they don't feel needed, they withdraw. And when they tend to withdraw, they will withdraw by spending their money on ridiculous things. They will just make silly purchases. They will be eccentric. They will buy things they don't need or require. They will buy gadgets, and they will make themselves the center of their world if they don't feel like they can offer you something. So they can get quite egotistical and quite I don't like using the term narcissistic because that's a mental health condition, and I think it gets banded around way too much on the internet. So I'm not going to use that word, but self-centered. They can be self-centered because if they don't feel like they're useful, they need to feel useful in practical ways. So if you are in love with a Venusian Capricorn, or if you are a Venusian Capricorn, you need a partner who doesn't have to control everything and is willing to give you 50% of the chores or 50% of the tasks, or can ask for help. If they can't ask for help, it's going to be really difficult for you to show them that you love them. And likewise, I think that you are quite good at asking for help yourself. I think you are quite good at giving people a chunk. You are generous in that way. You like to share. You like to share things, and you like to feel that you are on a journey together, in a way that Sagittarian Venusians do. But Sagittarius Venusian is like catapulting into infinity, whereas you want to be more discerning about how you move up the ladder, and you want all the boxes to be ticked before you then progress in your relationship. And once you partner with someone, you are very responsible with things like merging assets, merging records, merging books, that kind of thing. Like, you might want to keep things more separate for longer, so that you still have independence, and that you can that you are more responsible for yourselves. And being responsible for yourself means that that other person is also taken care of. So it's not that you're not muddying the waters. You like things to be clear, but you really have to be in service to people to feel loved. You have to be able to do things for them on a practical level. The other thing that I tend to find with Venusian Capricorns is you age really well. Like, you might be like a bit of a silver fox, you know, you get better looking as you get older, you have more health, I mean, depending on the holisticness of your chart, but you might have like a better time as you age. You might come more into your own style, or you might age in a really beautiful way, like with grey hair, or you just sort of come more into your own than you do when you're younger. And you might look quite dowdy when you're younger as well. Some Venusian Capricorns tend to look a bit frumpy, or you know, older than their years when they're younger, or in their 20s or teens. And then as they get older, into their 30s, 40s and beyond, they become much more youthful and much lighter with their appearance. When we are experiencing a Venus Capricorn transit, we want to feel responsible for our loved ones. We are going to be more focused on being responsible with physical tasks. We're going to be more practical. Things around Venusian themes, like spending money, is going to focus around more practical things. We want the job to be done. So if there's things we've been putting off that we might have started in a very disordered, busy, unfocused Sagittarius Venusian transit, and we sort of half finished it and left it to one side and got distracted by something else. When Venus is transiting through Capricorn, that's a time when we can actually finish the job. It's really good for tidying things up, and it's actually good for spring cleaning and just generally tidying things up as well, to do with Venusian matters. So it might be good to redo your roots in your hair, or manicures, pedicures, that kind of like practical self-care element, which is you know, going to help you, benefit you, that kind of thing. It's also I would say a good time for like stuff to do with the like bones and stability, and you know, intake, looking at your general health, your vitamins, things like that, your vitamins. So the reason why I use a lot of American words, by the way, is because a lot of you are American. So yeah, I like to speak people's language. So yeah, that's why I use these American versions of words. Now we're moving on to Venusian Aquarians. I know quite a few Venusian Aquarians, and they are very detached people. Now that doesn't mean that they don't experience love, and it doesn't mean that they don't love with all the heart, but they tend to be more analytical about how they love, and it's less about you as an individual and less about them as an individual, and more about the community. So they're very naturally generous. They share everything. They might want to share partners. They might want to share objects, share possessions. They share their money. They lend money very freely. They share assets. They share objects. They share music. They just want a collective, basically. Venus in Aquarius want to be in a collective. They want to have that sense of community, that sense of community identity. They like a big social group. They like to feel connected to other people. Now, an example of this is, I know a particular Venus Aquarius who is a skateboarder, and they're an amazing skateboarder, and that really goes well with that energy, because when you skateboard or do anything, any sort of sport like that, you're in a community. You know, if you do graffiti or you're a musician, you're in those communities, and sort of everyone who does that is therefore an extension of you, an extension of your friend, and that is perfect for Venus in Aquarius people. When it comes to self-care, they're not very good at enacting self-care, because they tend to get lost in the group, and they tend to get lost in other people's habits and routines and ideas, because they're very fluid with, you know, what they like and what they need. But what they consume in terms of their diet is super important for their health. So if you're watching this section because you are a Aquarius Venus placement, yeah, you know, what you consume is what you become. So you be discerning with your diet, and I've noticed that a few times when I've studied birth charts with people with particularly Venus Aquarius placements, but also like other like big Aquarian placements as well. It's like, you know, do not lose sight of your own self-care, and that's easily done when you're in a big collective. Now the other thing, the flip side of that, is to feel nurtured and to feel loved. Group events are really important for you. So it's not necessarily parties, but like doing social things, like going to gigs, going to happenings, doing 11th house kind of stuff, where it's like elective social groups, hobbies, that kind of stuff is like a big element of your how you love and how you want to be loved and how you nurture people. And it's much more likely that you would take a long time to find a romantic partner, and you may date very, very freely, and you may date very often, and have lots of like short-term relationships. All the while you might have a best friend who you absolutely adore, and eventually you end up marrying your best friend, because you really require the person who you love to be part of your community and involved in your community activities, or at least be interested in it and understand it. You do not want someone who is separate to your community. You want someone who can fully be integrated in your community, so you can have a sense of freedom and movement within that community and still stay connected to your partner. So great energy for like knowing someone for a long time before you start dating them. And once you do fall in love, it's like a real soulmate energy. So you will tend to romanticize your partners, and even short-term flings, very fifth house short-term flings, you're going to romanticize them and you want them to be the one, but deep down you probably know that they're not the one, either because you've already got a person who you truly, deeply, madly love, or you're not ready for that kind of commitment anyway. They are, you know what, I think maybe it depends on other placements, but I have known quite a few Venus in Aquarius people to have a very cool style. Because you are generally in collectives and group associations and organisations, you will pick up from the group style and dress sense and what you're spending your money on, and it's usually very creative or very musical or very arty in some way, and you know that style kind of sticks to you, that collective energy. So you know you might be quite eccentric with your style and unusual in your dress sense, or have a very unusual physical appearance. So you could have a very unusual facial hair or body structure, or you know you create that for yourself. There's an element of performance with that. You want to stand out from the group, but you also want to be fully integrated into that group. So uniqueness within the crowd, and you like that when all your friends are individuals as well. I have known some Venus Aquarius people to be a little bit controlling and possessive when it comes to their partner and their partner's style and dress sense. They don't want their partner to stand out, and that's either because they want to stand out the most and they want to be the most different, or they want to be the most eccentric, or they're worried that if their partner stands out too much, their partner will somehow be drawn to other people and lose them. So the Venus in Aquarius people can be very vulnerable. I've seen this for the moon placement as well. Aquarius moon placements can also be a little bit controlling and a little bit vulnerable at times, so that's something to watch out for. When we experience a Venus transiting Aquarius, group and community are going to be huge. We are going to be focused more on the collective energy rather than personal one-to-one romantic energies. So we might want to do group activities with our partner, or we might want to spend money on group activities. We might invest in, say, like charities, or do ethical community work. We might want to be outdoors more, doing more community-based stuff. So that's definitely an energy to look out for during the transits. Okay, moving on to Pisces. Pisces, last but never in its fall, we have Venus exalted in the beautiful sign of Pisces. So why does Venus love being in Pisces? Well, Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. So Pisces is all-knowing. It's mutable energy, so it is not fixed. It does not need to contain, it flows freely. So Venus is allowed to be fully herself in this sign. She is at her wisest, she is at her freest. When we think about our heart energy and collective consciousness, universal consciousness, and what love really means. True love, like the true essence of Venus, is manifested universal consciousness. And universal consciousness is pure love. And when we manifest a pure love in its most beautiful, richest way, there is no negative attachment associated. It just exists, and it flows, and it is full of love and joy and promise and hope and all those positive effects. So Piscean Venusians are very free with their love. I use Jimi Hendrix as an example quite often because I really feel like he sums up a lot of the more free-flowing aspects of like mutable energy. When a Venus in Pisces falls in love, they really mean it. And they might mean it every time they fall in love. But unlike the Aries energy, where it feels like every time's the first time, Venusian Pisceans really learn each time they fall in love, and each time they find love, they learn how to love a little bit more. They learn how to truly, deeply dive in to unconditional love a little bit more each time. And they become more discerning as they grow, either in a partnership or through relationships. They're very sexually appealing, much in the same way that the Scorpio Venusians are, but they do not have the same intensity. So they might be very, very sexy and very flirtatious and very appealing, but somehow a little bit detached as well. So they're not trying to capture anything, they're not trying to capture that energy. Like, everyone's looking at them on the dance floor, but they're just happily away in their own little fairy world because they're not focused on trying to get anyone else to enjoy that energy. They're just happy in their experience, in their energy, and that's probably what makes them quite appealing. Self-esteem with Venusian Pisceans is a big element of learning how to self-care. They can really second guess themselves and second guess whether they are loved, or whether people, or whether their crush or the person that they're dating, how they feel about them, and they can really question that energy. And that's because they love so unconditionally and without judgment that a lot of the other signs cannot match that energy. And so it's very hard for a Venusian Piscean to feel grounded in a partnership and feel loved in a partnership, and hold on to that love and feel contained in that love at first. So they might tend to be more inclined to have open relationships or alternative relationships in some way, or they will match with very, very creative people. They tend to be more on the creative side, physically creative, like dancers or singers or musicians, or very visually, through their dress sense, through their style, very visually creative, and they would match someone with that energy because it's freedom of expression, and part of their love language is freedom of expression, and that would help them to feel comfortable with things like self-esteem issues. So if you're a Venusian Piscean and you go on a date with someone who has completely the opposite style to you, you are going to struggle to feel that comfort. Not like you can't connect with them on an intellectual level or on an emotional level, but you're not gonna feel fully comfortable with them. As a Venus in Pisces, I know this energy. I've dated guys before who have not matched my style, and there's always been this thing of like, they don't quite get me, and that's not in a superficial way. It's because that's what you require to feel secure, because you are so fluid in and abundant with your love. Now, Venusian Pisceans also love beauty. They like to beautify themselves. They love physical beautiful things. They love delicate things. They love natural fibres. They love expensive things, but they don't have to buy expensive things. They just want things that appear luxurious and appear to be beautiful, and they want to beautify themselves. It's a really amazing energy for anyone who is creative. So if you are an artist, or I mean, you're going to be let's just say what we see here. If you are a Venus in Pisces, you're going to be creative. Full stop. You're definitely a creative. You're definitely either an artist or a musician, or involved in crafts, or involved in creativity in some way. And you know, it could even be that you work in the creative arts, or in beauty, or something along those lines, because that's what makes your heart sing. You tend to give everything to a relationship, so sometimes you're too self-sacrificing, you know, Piscean Venusians, and you know you can do that. And when you feel really, the reason that you feel let down is because other people do not give 110%, and when they don't give 110%, you sort of feel like you've been wasting your time, and you really don't want to feel like you've been wasting your time, because your time needs to be focused on making and creating your art and sending out all this love into the universe. And it's like, if the person that you're dating doesn't give that back to you, then you somehow, there's no land grab. You can't take that back off them, and you feel like somehow you've emptied your pot, you've wasted that energy. So that's something to really look out for, Venusian Pisceans. But generally it's a very beautiful energy. You see the world with rose-coloured glasses when it comes to love, when it comes to being in love. You give very freely, you're very generous, you're very supportive, you're very nurturing, and you enjoy being in love. Being in love for you is you're always in love with something. There's never a point when you don't have a crush, or you're not fantasizing about somebody, or you don't have a passion that you absolutely adore, or you don't have a person who you're deeply, madly in love with. And when you fall in love, when you really fall in love, and even in the early stages when you're first dating people, you will fantasize about what it's going to be like if you get married, about what it's going to be like if you live together, about how much you could fall in love with them, the potential is there. And it's this sort of dreamy, beautiful, unconditional energy. You could at times deceive yourself, and I feel like I've said that enough now for you to understand that energy. When we experience a Venus through Pisces transit, you're going to be more inclined to be rose-coloured about things like your finances. You're probably going to be more creative with your style. You're going to be more expressive with your love language, and you're feeling that energy without it being actionable. It doesn't need to be actionable with Venus in Pisces, and that's probably why it's exalted here, okay? Because to get all the benefits of that Venus, that Venusian feeling of self-love and self-care, you don't need to do anything. It just exists. It just is. And so at times, Venus in Pisces people and Venus in Pisces transits also indicate laziness to some degree, or a lack of will to create and manifest. Now the flip side of that is it could also be a very good time to manifest, because you don't need the tangible results straight away. You just need to know it's happening and dream about it and fantasize about it, and that in itself creates the manifestation. So perhaps Venus in Pisces is the best sign for manifesting love and romance, but it might take some time because the practical elements are not always there for you with you Venusian Pisceans. But ultimately, Venus loves being in Pisces, so if you have this placement, enjoy it, enjoy it. So that is the end of my video. It's a very, very long video today, nearly 2 hours long, so I hope you have enjoyed this video. I will try and edit it down so it's not quite as long, and I will see you in the next video. If you have got to the end and you are watching this outro, please leave an emoji down below and comment and let me know where your sign is and how this energy manifests for you and how you have found it manifesting in your relationships. And it's really so valuable for us to grow this community, and it's so helpful, the comments that you make. I really value you all, and yeah, I will see you in the next video. So take care for now, enjoy, and let the love radiate outwards. Bye for now.